Welcome to part 2 of analyzing the flaws and bugs in the Squadron 42 prologue, which was released to the public in October 2024. Thank you for being patient while I worked on this second video. For context, I'm Enigmatic, a cinematographer and editor with years of both real-world and game engine experience. I've collaborated behind the scenes with creators like Morphologist and Fatbird, and have also been behind the camera for many short and feature films. Credit where it's due, this video was inspired by the content creator Kai Zamet. And with the intro done, let's get back to the nitpicking. For context, the cutscene just finished, and now we're using the gunner seat to tear through these Vandal. Right off the bat, one thing to note is how CIG creates these destruction particles. Currently in Star Citizen, ships break apart in these large 3D pieces, but what it's missing is this huge fluff of particles and debris that normally come with an explosion of a large vehicle. Squadron 42 handles this by using a well-known industry shortcut, spawning a large amount of particles in a really dense formation and then applying the physics calculation of the explosion to them. The particles are then set to look like 3D pieces of debris. That way, the game engine doesn't have to calculate collision for the particles, which would be really expensive. If you didn't catch it, our player character goes for a breath of fresh air through the turret glass. The Vandal turret on this incoming ship shoots a really hot beam of what I can assume is plasma. However, it's not very bright, and a weapon emitting that kind of energy would be practically overexposing the screen, making everything bright or look similar to a Star Wars lightsaber, white in the middle, colored on the outside. Here, it's just another beam, and we say goodbye to Marcus.
Oh my God, she's down! Double the inbound boarding spikes. Target and eliminate. We should get the hell out of here!
I want you to pay attention to the speed of these Vandal boarding spikes. Initially, they're quick and a little bit difficult to shoot down. However, since the cutscene needs you to shoot at this one, it's very slow compared to all the others. It's a bit of game design to keep the thread of storytelling moving, but it just looks a little wonky. While this boarding spike is flying at you, you can see that it's missing the claws that the other ones have, and the animation of this turret glass breaking is just so goofy. While we're here, please take a note that this helmet does not cover your face, and doesn't seem to have any room for a mechanism that would cover your face either. The translucent material for the targeting computer doesn't get affected by the depth of field pass. For some reason, when transitioning up to the top of the ship, there's this pillar boxing effect that takes place. Essentially the reverse of letterboxing when black bars are included on the left and the right instead of the top and the bottom. You'll notice initially we see empty space while the ship loads in, and then the turret. These explosion particle effects flicker and then disappear. If you look carefully at the UEES Krugeri when the camera zooms in, you can see that it's also plagued by the shadow LOD issue we discussed last video. In the background of these shots, you'll see both the lighting and shadows flickering on the floor and ceiling. Also, there are some of these triangles that I think are an artifact of the depth of field effect interacting with haze. You can also see the display of the helmsman jittering as the camera gets closer. These projectiles disappear for one frame and then come back. The Vandal's capes flutter in because they teleport into place, likely due to an animation error. And this Vandal doesn't have a shadow. Here, the camera misses focus on Admiral Bishop. It's a very documentary-like aesthetic, and it really pulls this piece away from being a rehearsed cinematic experience, which I do like. That being said, in this scene, I know they're in danger, but there's just way too much camera shake. Did they give the camera operator lead weights for shoes?
I'm gonna need you to cook up a firing solution on that Kingship. Hit him with everything we got.
So, all of our weapons even focused?
Have to do something. Right?
Hey, look,
Mr.
the
Cross?
shadows remembered they were in the scene.
The Vandal aren't gonna blow themselves up.
Yes, sir.
Wait. The Vandal aren't gonna blow themselves up.
Yes, sir.
And here's another example of
time we
Admiral
take a
Bishop
hit,
being tracked just a little too
Drop our
closely, and it
shields
feels
an extra
unnatural.
30%.
Hear that, Shields?
Sir.
Navigation.
Sir.
Adjust heading. 10 degrees port.
Aye, sir.
Let's get their attention.
All the guns on this ship don't seem to shoot at anything until they're on camera. The Hornet chasing this Vandal blade not only has a really slow flight path, but also hitches when the camera turns around to follow it. This is probably an issue with the animation spline used to control the ship. The Vandal staff and the shadows in the background load in as the camera gets closer. I'm really not a fan of this defocused outer edge of the lens, along with all the chromatic aberration. It looks so arbitrary and weird, especially because it was added in post. Of course, this is a game engine, so all of it is technically added in post. But it looks like those really old memes where it's just radial blur over a single image. It just doesn't fit. Take a look at this moment where the camera operator is trying to follow Gary Oldman's face and kind of overshoots each time. That's exactly what I want more of in this game. Mark Strong's hand comes down here to press a button, but it looks very floaty. Here's the damaged Goliath animation I was talking about in the first video. Throughout this sequence, you'll see more of the radial blur around the edges, and it just looks so bad.
Getting power spikes. And charging up the main gun. I guess you got their attention.
This shot attached to the missile incoming to the UEES Krugeri is straight out of the new generation Star Trek films.
Go.
This transition is pretty damn cool, even if it is a little jittery. And instead of generating a new asset just for this cutscene transition, they make the actual wireframe of the ship model visible for a few moments.
All right, people. 5 seconds out.
These ships seem to fly forward and up at the same time, which just looks a little weird during this cutscene.
Tally's on me.
Flight. Echo flight. Prep for boost.
This particle passes through the cockpit, so it looks like the quantum boost particles don't take into account the collision of the ship, or they're going way too fast to calculate collision in the first place.
Let's say hi.
This fake military talk is honestly horrendous.
All copy. Tools at the ready. Stand by for lock.
If you know what they should be saying instead of whatever this is, let me know in the comments.
Ready up, people. Enemy vectors inbound.
Copy, Doug. You can cover, I can make a run at that shield, Jenny.
Copy. Hey, Rover. Take Charlie and Delta and screen up those fighters. Mabel, Mug, you're in main. They'll be running a double switchback.
Copy that. Tally's maintain vector. I'll clear you a shot.
Got it. All echoes. Stay on the ball.
Light them up.
Look out.
When following the Hornet, the camera tilts up in a linear fashion to reveal the kingship, and then snaps back to a smoother movement curve.
Cal, I don't think your ship's got the firepower to take that emitter out.
You might be right.
This is supposed to be a really epic moment, but the sound mixing is failing. The guns sound like airsoft toys.
Shield soften up.
The Vandal teleport into place. This can hint that the beginning of the animation is far away from their intended start point, snapping them into place and creating a lot of motion blur and throwing their cape around. Although the more likely culprit is that these entities are unloaded during the rest of the cutscene, so when the camera snaps back to them, they still have to be loaded into memory before it can be shown on screen. I don't know why, but this dolly zoom on Admiral Bishop is a very "it came to me in a dream" moment. How did you know they were firing the main gun?
Report! Shields are holding, barely. That shot took out our main thrusters.
No, not us, them.
The Kingship shields are down.
Yes. We don't celebrate until they're dead.
The Shadows here finally remember to load in. The Hornet's animation spline jumps again here.
Hit him! Hit him! Hit him!
Here, the torpedoes appear in front of the camera. And don't forget the shadows. This pilot is moving their control stick around, but the ship isn't doing anything. Another beautiful scene that lives in my head rent-free. The Kingship control spheres that should be in the Vandal's hands aren't rendered, so when the larger Vandal goes to release the center staff, he just looks like this. And here you can see the control spheres rising up and starting their animation. It seems like they're delayed somehow. The lighting in here is pretty good, but the composition suffers from that poorly calculated motion blur, and it's everywhere in this scene. When this Vandal rises on the elevator, you can see a nice detail of dirt on the top of the lens. The game hitches and shows us the inside of a ship. Judging from the spacing of the docking ports, I think this is the interior of the Javelin, but I'm not sure. It definitely could be the Bengal, since we can't see the interior corridors. This concludes part 2 of this video series, looking at the very fine details of the Squadron 42 prologue. Thank you for watching, and please like and subscribe. I think part 3 is going to be really interesting because it encapsulates FPS gameplay. Be sure to keep an eye out for it.